Hey Ian,
How's it going?
good. How are you?
Not too bad. How was your extra day in New Orleans?
It was good. Mostly just walked around the French Quarter.
Oh, cool.
Howdy, folks.
Yo.
Morning.
Okay, let's get this started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly Cloud Native demo. Um, let's see. Does anyone want to volunteer to be reviewer today? Ian, would you be reviewer?
Happy to.
Thanks. So in the past several weeks, we haven't had any change in the operator, which is what we're currently focusing on demoing. We are hoping to see a change in the operator in the near future, specifically around the installation to command installation. We're getting close on that one. Hosean's working on that. So just to show you what I've got up, this demo will likely end up looking very similar to the previous ones. I've gone ahead and prepared an instance following the demo preparation. One thing I've done, which we have done before, but is a little different from our typical week to week and different from the past couple of weeks, is I have gone ahead and used EKS instead of GKE for deploying the demo, and that's working just fine. So I've deployed the stable version. It's up here. QA is run against it. All the tests in the QA tests have passed. And this is the current stable, is what's installed. And it is installed, those were the QA tests, installed using the operator. So the operator is here running as well. So what we're going to do is basically take this running installation and upgrade it to master with the operator enabled and see what is going on there. I'm going to try and show off the bug that that Hosean was showing off previously with the unicorn not being properly paused. So I'm going to try and show that. But other than that, I think we're going to see pretty much the same behavior as before. So let's go ahead and jump into that. So these were the two commands I used to, the two sets of commands I used to bring the cluster up. So our pretty standard, typical documented install commands where you just set the domain and your cert manager issuer, and then our two sets of commands to use the operator, bootstrap it to true, and then right away flip it back to false to get it fully installed. So the two command install. So I'm going to switch to installing master, which requires a dependency update, and just switching the path of the chart. And that should be it. Just make sure I'm on the latest master. And I'm just going to put this over here. So I want to see the pods, okay. So the bug we're running into, I haven't run the upgrade command yet, but the bug we're running into basically lets the right away when I run this, lets the unicorn pod slip through without being paused, which essentially means that instead of following the process of the operator and only being down during the time when we are restarting unicorns and the CSS doesn't match between versions, instead of that being the case when we're down, that CSS problem starts happening right away if unicorn slips through. So basically, when I run this command, what we don't want is we don't want unicorn like a new unicorn to spin up until later in the process after we see the migrations run. But the bug is that it does slip through. So we'll go ahead and do that upgrade. And we got a failure. So we did change. Oh, yes. Okay. I know what this is. So in master, we've actually updated the CRD or the default CRD, and this is part of the reason why we're moving towards the one install command, and why it's important is when you need to update the CRD at the moment, you also need to run the command twice. Let's see if I run it twice. I guess even if I run it twice, we'll probably see it slip through even if I just do bootstrap true. So let's do that. The bootstrap 2 will install that new CRD. And we can already see that a unicorn slipped through up here. Yeah, here it continues. So yeah, that's the bug. we're also seeing a sidekick slip through as well. So basically, the sidekick and unicorn are expected to be paused in this scenario. The rest are fine; they're expected to be rolled, but sidekick and unicorn are the ones that we didn't want to roll, but are now rolling. So if I go into the demo, depending on how quick it's coming up, I may or may not get CSS issues. And Gitly isn't up, so it actually won't respond until Gitly's up. Yeah, so it receives an error while Gitlab's down. Gitlab's back up, so once the load balancer sees that, should add it back. And we should at least be able to load the page. And then I'll go ahead and run the second command because this is still a 2 command install to actually get everything updated. So the first command was mostly to make sure the CRD was updated, but also it updated everything that wasn't gated. And now this one will update the GitLab resource itself, and we'll see the operator kick into gear and change the secrets and run the migrations. Trying to see if I can show off our normal CSS problem. Yeah, so we aren't seeing the CSS problem because the pod that did slip through is actually failing health checks, likely because the migrations haven't run. So it was never added to the load balancer. Watch the logs from the operator to see what actions are being taken. Just trying to check on the failure. So this is probably caused actually by the fact that this pod slipped through. which means that the whole thing is kind of stuck.
I was gonna say, DJ, before you do that, take a look at the service, see what endpoints are seeing there. See if it was listed, but it's too late now.
From the logs, we could see that it had hit the failure and then never retried. So the failure was probably from before the migrations had been run.
I know it's probably not related, but I was curious about the sidekick one that's always in crash loop. Is that because of something else, or is that a...
It's likely the same error, because it and the unicorn one had slipped through. It might do a better job of restarting though. Let's see. So yeah, it's got the same error going on here.
Gotcha. And then kind of maybe a related question. So in terms of if you were to run this whole thing again, would it be likely or unlikely that you'd see the same two services or pods with problems, or does it kind of vary?
So now that it's I guess it has less to do with the migrations and more to do with the length of time I waited between running those two upgrade commands. So essentially what happened is in the first command where we update the CRD, we don't update the actual custom resource that uses the new CRD. But in this version of GitLab, in this newest version of GitLab, there is basically a new secret added, which is related to the errors we're seeing. And we need the operator to roll out that new secret. So while I was waiting during that first command, the operator wasn't rolling out anything because the second command was needed to trigger the operator to do so. But the bug had resulted in the unicorn and the sidekick slipping through and running into those errors. The unexpected thing that I wasn't expecting was that unicorn, after hitting the failure, was still sitting there up and didn't restart.
Gotcha. So it had a different behavior than the sidekick, even though it was a similar dependency problem.
It's getting the same error. I don't know if they're getting the same behavior. It looks like no. So it looks like sidekick recovered eventually. But the unicorn required me, like the unicorn was stuck. The unicorn container had an exception in it, but was not restarting. So I would say that is a bit of a bug. Because what we would like, right, is if there's an exception, the container shouldn't stay up.
On the
Gotcha.
unicorn pods, are there both the readiness and liveness checks on them?
Yep. Yeah, they have both.
And what is the condition for the liveness health check? Do you remember that or know what that is? I mean, inside the pod, how's it handling the liveness check?
I'm not sure if it uses the workhorse or the unicorn, because they contain two containers, and the workhorse container was working. So that's an excellent question. Let's find out. Oops. That one's done. So if we take a look at our probes, so let's see, they're just actually running a health check.
And which container is that in? Oh, there you go. It was below. Get workhorse. Okay.
Yeah, so that was in a workhorse, which was up. And then
there is one.
They also have them in
the unicorn too, it looks like, yeah.
In unicorn. I wonder if the port had stayed open though, even though what was behind it was down. I'm just going to jump over to where that health check is actually defined, because that's an excellent question. So here's the health check.
Okay.
It says check that both of our processes are running, and then I see it appears to be only checking workhorse.
Yeah,
I think so.
Oh, that's unicorn. Okay, unicorn's running on what, port 80 and workhorse on 8080.
I think one's on 8080 and one's probably on 8081.
Okay.
I think unicorn's 8080 and workhorse 8081.
Let's see. It might not be defined here in the Docker file.
Probably in unicorn. There we go. On 8080 for unicorn.
Yeah, so it was only listening. So it was only listening to unicorns.
But it's perfect. It's
run an exception, but maybe it was.
Yeah, but it's perfectly possible that unicorn's actually seeing the exception, but it's responding enough on HTTP to say, yes, I'm here. So
yeah,
that might be a part of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I've seen it fly by a couple times. Don't have enough to go on and what's exactly happening yet, but when you're rotating all this stuff and rotating the CRD and the new secret is being generated and put in place and so forth, is when you're seeing one of these exceptions in Ruby, and it looks like it's like not either the secrets.yaml is just not there, or the permissions on it are such that the pod is not able to read it. I'm curious about that.
So what happens is in the upstream project, in the Rails project, they have like a little catch, which is like, if the secret doesn't exist, we'll auto generate a secret for it, like a hash.
Oh no!
But that only works in source installs. It doesn't work in Omnibus because you can't. The user reading the file can't write to the file. Only root can. And the same thing with the containers. Like that secrets is a mounted directory, and you can't write back to it. Like it's a config, basically, or it's a secret.
Yeah. No, that's starting to make a little bit more sense. What's going on there now?
So the error just happens. The fact that it tries it all is just kind of an artifact of different support. But even if it didn't try, what we would get instead is the fact that the secret is missing.
Right.
would be the error that we would get. We just happen to get this one because it does have a fallback.
And when you say the secret is missing, we're talking about just that one new value is missing, or is it
Yeah.
that the whole? Okay, yeah, that's what I expect.
Just the new value is missing.
Well, and again, I unfortunately don't know the code, but does the code sit there and say, uh, "Oh, the file's changed. Let's reread it"? Is there any logic in there that allows you to see that the file has changed? Because whether it's a secret or config map, after a few seconds of changing it, it'll actually change in the containers, unless it's being brought in as an environmental variable. This is coming in as a file, so the files will automatically refresh.
Yeah, I think in our case, to my knowledge, they don't do that.
Okay.
So so I don't know of a mechanism that allows them to do that in this install at the moment.
Okay.
I'm not sure how we would do that either.
Well,
So
basically
the
bring in
secret,
the iNotify code and allow it to watch the files, and when the file changes, it says, "Oh, okay, let me." And again, I haven't seen code, so I have no idea how easy or complex this is going to be. But it's just basically watch for the iNotify events to say, "Oh, I need to go reread my secrets."
that's interesting. So I wasn't aware. I was under the impression that the file wouldn't change in Kubernetes, like
My
it wouldn't
experience,
remount it.
my experience is if, and I've seen this happen before. If you go modify and I've mostly done with config maps. I've never tried a secret, so we ought to try that to see if that has the same property. But I assume it would, because config maps and secrets are nearly identical. If you have a pod running with a config map and you go modify that mounted config map inside the pod, a few seconds later it'll rewrite it back to what it was. And I'm 99% certain if you go modify the config map directly, and a few seconds later you'll see that file update and see the new changes in that config map. That's actually one of the things that has been open for a while, and I don't think anybody's really made any significant processes putting in pod hooks to allow you to get notified when a config map gets modified. But you effectively can do it from within the pod by just using the iNotify stuff to watch for changes in the files.
But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at that right now. I'm gonna stay on the call, but I know there's another AMA going on right now.
Sure.
So in terms of the demo, anyone who wants to jump into a different call, feel free to do so. I'm just gonna actually, because I'm actually kind of interested in what George was saying here. So I'm gonna go ahead and edit a config map and then jump into a pod and see if it's changed.
My experience has usually been within, I'd say 5 to 10 seconds, but it should go pretty quickly.
Yeah, so it hasn't updated yet here. You know what it is, though? It's the way we do it. It would be interfering. So yeah, because we because we use these init containers. Here, I'll just show you, Gerard, why this specifically, even if that mechanism works, why this specifically isn't working, I realize, is because if we look at the mounts for the unicorn worker, we basically have this configure init container that brings in this would have been in the unicorn config. So it would have mounted the unicorn config, mounted workhorse config.
I'm not sure I fully understand yet, but
yeah, here I'm just jumping.
The volumes down at the bottom.
Yeah, so
configs defined.
Basically, I'll show you what I mean.
Oh, that's right. This is kind of imported. Oh, yes, that's right. I remember this. Some of this code now.
Yeah. So the two things are.
There it is.
Oh, actually, no. This one doesn't work that way. The way I was thinking it would. It's the secrets that work that way. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so we had unicorn config, which is the file I changed, and it's mounted in the unit container there.
Well, no, hold on, hold on a second. It's being mounted at a different spot. It's where did it just go? It went to. So we got because you went to /Etsy something, right?
Yeah, that was the init container though. Here's it. It is in the main container. So yeah, it's being mounted here. You're right.
Okay.
So let's check that location. That's right, because these are ERB files.
I wonder if during the init or something else, some startup, it's moving it to another location, which is why we wouldn't see it update.
Yeah, it does. It does. But that's fine for this test. It doesn't like because we would have to already do the iNotify, right? So it doesn't matter. All we're looking for is to see if it changed for this one, and it did.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense now.
So the actual mounted file did. So that works the way you said. Then the only question I have, because I'm sure I was reading this, I wonder if it works. It works in the case when we're using like a mounted config map.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious whether it works when we use a projected.
I'm pretty sure it's going to. Again, I can't say with certainty because I've never done it, but the way that I've envisioned it doing that within Kubernetes, I would expect it to be the same. I would expect that one file to update.
Yeah, I can't test this one, unfortunately, because as you see, this is init unicorn secrets.
Right.
Because this projected config map actually never makes it into the pod. It just makes it into the init pod, then it gets copied into memory.
Which means we'd have to restart everything so the init runs again.
Yeah, we also don't have a detection of that either. Like, I guess we could also additionally mount this one, right?
Well, hold on a second. I mean, again, I'm just thinking. I'm still brand new into seeing how some of this stuff is working. Think about it, but within the operator, can't we just cause a rolling update of all the pods, which will kill them off and cause the inits to run again? So within the operator, we should be able to watch that secret map, determine if there's been a update to it.
Yep.
I mean, it's a lot more complicated than just something simple, I understand, but it's one way of possibly handling it.
Yep. Yeah, we could certainly do that.
So I think I just found the code for the operators in your folder. This says Gitlab Operator. Is that the one you're currently using, or is there another repo out there?
in my folder?
No, okay, it's not. No, I found under your name, I found Gitlab Operator. I thought maybe it was just you're working on it, but okay.
It's probably just a fork I have of it. This
Could be.
is it here.
Okay, I'll pull that up and start looking at that at some point.
But yeah, I think for this specific issue, the other fix is probably improving the health check, right? Oh, I can't do chat? Oh, I can do chat. All right, I'll throw it in chat. Okay.
All right.
That's the operator there. Yeah, in the end, well, I got to show the bug I wanted to show, but then I found a new one too. So the bug is with the slipping, that unicorn and sidekick slipping through is not supposed to happen, and kind of breaks everything we're planning, like we're trying to do with the operator, because the operator is specifically trying to control the rollout, so it loses all control at that point. And then the additional bug we found was that after that point, Unicorn didn't restart, even though it was not working. Okay, I think that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Good demo.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.